Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cruising with Matthew. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about Silversea and their expedition cruises. And all the information that I'm going to tell you is what I learned whilst I was on board Silver Cloud, like I mentioned last week, when we had an informative talk with their expedition leader. And I think this will give a really good flavour of what expedition cruising is like on board Silversea, as well as the industry in general. And it sounds like an absolutely amazing way to explore the world and reach those out-of-reach destinations that most ships simply can't reach due to their size. So I hope you find this really informative and that you can sit back and enjoy. What places are you able to visit whilst on board Silver Cloud? So the Silver Cloud is actually Silversea's very first ship of the fleet, and legend has it she is named as such because when the ship owners were deciding what to name her, a Silver Cloud Rolls-Royce went past, and that is why she is called the Silver Cloud. And I love that, and I hope it's a true anecdote. So the Silver Cloud was converted into an ice-class expedition ship in 2017, and she has the ability, as well as exploring the Antarctic and Arctic regions, she carries out a series of repositioning cruises, as it were, as she traverses the poles. And as a result of this, she can carry out Cape-to-Cape voyages where you can explore the South Atlantic, visiting places like Tristan da Cunha or the Falkland Islands as you make your way towards Cape Town. Additionally, there is a voyage where you go up the side of Africa, visiting areas like Angola or Sierra Leone, Cape Verde, and ultimately ending in Lisbon. And then the expedition cruise shifts towards a more culinary focus whilst in Europe because it allows you to experience all the culinary delights of the European continent. And this lets you even visit places like Bordeaux's vineyard and sounds like an amazing experience if you're a food lover like me. Alternatively, you also have a British Isles cruise, which is where I visited Silver Cloud while she was docked in London, and ultimately she will end up moving towards the Arctic, exploring the polar regions which she is famed for as part of her expedition cruise experience. So it means that if you're not wanting to visit the poles, or if you're wanting to not have somewhere that's cold, which is fair enough, then this is a fantastic experience for you. And I think she offers a huge range of itineraries, and I really hope to be able to go with them one day. So what are the differences between expedition cruising and classic cruising? Now, it goes without saying that the main difference between classic cruising and expedition cruising is the fact that expedition cruising allows you to visit far more rugged and remote regions than you would do on a classic cruise to the Mediterranean, for example. And because you have the ability to visit places like the polar regions, your itineraries are far more flexible, purely due to the fact that the weather in the polar regions is a lot more changeable than you would expect in other areas. You also have to concern yourselves with ice as well as wildlife. And it means that, in my opinion, you get a great sense of adventure because you know that two cruises are never going to be the same. However, you must note that, and rightly so, in expedition cruising, the destination is very much the focus of the cruise, which means that all entertainment tends to be geared towards this. So, for example, on Silver Cloud, you have a series of lecturers talking in their fields such as geology, marine biology, history, and you are not going to get your West End style shows that you would expect on the large cruise ships. And although Silver Cloud does have, for example, pianists and musicians on board, the focus is on the destination. And people need to be aware of the fact that classic cruising and expedition cruising are two very different entities, and both are brilliant ways to experience the world. But people need to be aware of that. And the expedition leader was stating this because people who are used to being on Silver Cloud when she was a classic cruise ship get a bit of a shock when you go on board her, and instead she now has ZODIAKS and is an expedition ship. So people need to be aware of that. But either way, I think it would be a brilliant way to experience the world. So what are ZODIAKS? So ZODIAKS are inflatable craft, which means that they can rub across rugged surfaces on the coasts of the polar regions and be safe. And these have taken over the role of tenders which you normally have on traditional cruises. Now, each guest is given a zodiac number, and you are required to stick to that zodiac group during your voyage, and they rotate through, so everyone has the experience of being the first to land, and it's a really lovely experience because experts also go with you, so you can share their knowledge and see what they have to know firsthand in these brilliant environments. Now, obviously, Zodiacs are open-topped, and you're going to be carrying out what are known as wet landings, which means that you have to step into ankle or potentially knee-deep water when you get off the Zodiac to wade ashore. And this means that you're given full waterproof gear, waders, and the staff know exactly what they're doing to make sure that it is as safe and comfortable as possible, but it just needs to be aware of that. And I think this sounds like a really fantastic idea because it will really feel like you're venturing into the Arctic regions, and I think this sounds like such a good idea. And I think it's just something for people to be aware of because it's not a traditional tender experience, but I still think it sounds brilliant. So what can you wear whilst going ashore? So in the polar regions, without stating the obvious, it's going to be very cold, and it's recommended that you dress in layers, purely because then you can take them off and take them on as and when you deem fit. And a good way of testing to see if your current outfit is suitable or not is to go out onto your balcony or onto the open decks and see how you feel, have a walk round, and ensure that you're not too cold, because you're going to be spending a significant amount of time in sub-zero polar temperatures, so you want to be comfortable. A good tip apparently is to make sure that you wear natural fibres rather than synthetic, because these tend to dry a lot quicker. And obviously, if you're unsure, go and speak to the staff, because they know exactly what they're doing and will have all the experience necessary to ensure that you have a comfortable experience. But either way, even if you have to be completely clad in waterproof gear, you don't have to worry about getting it yourself, as you can rent it from Silversea, although some passengers do enjoy getting their own stuff and also buying it from Silversea. So it's completely up to you. And either way, I think it'd just be brilliant to have all this gear on, because it'll feel like you're some intrepid explorer going to explore the Arctic or Antarctic. And in a way you are. And I think it'll just be brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. So what about safety in these regions? So safety is of the utmost importance when you are visiting the polar regions, and this is due to the fact that you do not want to cause unnecessary pollution when you are visiting the region, as well as you need to ensure that there are no threats to either passengers, crew, or the Silver Cloud itself. And as a result of this, you need to make particular precautions. So for example, if you are tracking a group of wildlife on board the ship, such as a group of blue whales, Silver Cloud can only stay a particular distance from them and only watch them for around 15 minutes, because you do not want to put them under any unnecessary stress or put them through any harm. Additionally, when you're on land, specifically in the Arctic, you have to concern yourselves with polar bears, and these are wild carnivorous animals. So as a result, Silversea employ a series of scouts which will look around the area to ensure that it is safe before allowing guests to come ashore. And if they do encroach on the area, then it is the guests and the crew, not the polar bears, that are expected to move. And they will simply look for another landing site, because simply put, we are guests in their home basically, and we need to treat the environment and the animals that live there with the utmost respect, because ultimately these are endangered areas, and we want to make sure that these are preserved for as long as possible to ensure that future generations will be able to experience the fantastic views that you would be able to if you were on board a expedition cruise to the polar regions on board Silver Cloud. So what will I see in these polar regions? I can only imagine what you would see when you were on board the Silver Cloud exploring the polar regions, but I can imagine it would be something akin to a National Geographic documentary. You had the ability to see colonies of penguins, you're able to hike up glaciers and sail past icebergs, and it would be the most fantastic experience and really a trip of a lifetime. And what I really like is that Silversea employs world-leading experts in their relevant fields and accompany you whilst you are going ashore, which will mean that you will get the most up-to-date information and learn so much about your areas of interest. And Silversea's crew also encourages you to do things that you might not think that you're capable of doing, like hiking up that glacier. And I can imagine how empowered you feel at the very top looking over this glacier. And I think it would just be the most magical experience and something that would really be a bucket list once in a lifetime opportunity. So what do I think about expedition cruising on board the Silver Cloud? So believe it or not, I'd absolutely love to go on board Silver Cloud to explore the polar regions, or any region in that matter. purely because she's a gorgeous ship with so many facilities, and coupled with the fact that you're with world-leading experts who'd be able to teach you so much about those regions, I can imagine it's a truly once-in-a-lifetime experience. Thank you so much to Silversea for letting me visit Silver Cloud while she was docked in London, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe to my channel, and if there's anything else you want to know, please comment below. So this is Cruising with Matthew, and I really hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much.